Hey everyone, hey Wellness Crew, and welcome to this reading of the 64 Ways by Richard Rudd. This is just more Gene Key information. Today we're going to be going over Gene Key 4. I'm going to be reading from the 64 Ways, Personal Contemplations on the Gene Keys, and again, that is by Richard Rudd. Gene Key 4, The Way of Understanding. Shadow, intolerance. Dilemma, reasons. Gift, understanding. City, forgiveness. Programming partner, Gene Key 49. Codon ring, the ring of union. The transformational way of the fourth gene key moves from intolerance to forgiveness, and it's the way of understanding. This fourth gene key is the real linchpin in our genome. In the future, this gene key is going to cause mutations in our DNA, and it is already in the early stages of that process. We can see from its related physiology that it has to do with the neocortex and the way humans think and reflect. The shadow field of this gene key is intolerance. These shadow words often contain worlds. We may not think of ourselves as intolerant, but humans really don't live in a field of tolerance. Even in our closest relationships, we often act in anger and irritation. We're easily provoked. Note the programming partner here, the shadow of reaction in the 49th gene key. The closer we are with someone, the easier it is to be provoked, and often by the most insignificant things. At the shadow frequencies, we live in a world of judgment, comparison, good and bad, right and wrong, all generated by our neocortex. We live inside a mental construct, and we have no idea how deeply embedded we are in it. We barely tolerate our neighbors. We certainly don't love them. This mental world we live in is made up of thousands and thousands of reasons. Our modern logical mind is so adept at finding reasons, and reasons is the dilemma of this gene key. But there are truths that won't be detected by reasons. For that, we must look elsewhere. It all begins with language. If we look through the eyes of someone who's autistic, we'll see a world without its reasons. Everything is experienced as pure, undivided, unfiltered. If the consciousness is not ready for that, then the person will have great difficulty living safely in the world. The awakened state also filters life without reasons, without even morals. We have to prepare ourselves for that. Most of us are governed by reasons, but a world without reasons seems to be ungovernable, a moral world. It's a terrifying prospect to us. Think about this. A man kills a woman. Why did he do it? There must be a reason. In his childhood, something must have happened, or perhaps she just drove him mad. There may be substance to those things, but what if there were no reason? What if it was meant to happen just because that's what life chose? The fourth shadow is obsessed with knowing why things are the way they are. It's endlessly hungry for answers. It drives us to look for answers. It's the mental expression of our unconscious distrust in life, because out of reasons come blame, justification, and guilt. We usually think of intolerance as directed at others, but we can understand it at a far deeper level if we look within. If we close our eyes and sit in a room for an hour doing nothing, we will soon discover intolerance. Most of us can't even tolerate our own minds. They recently did a psychological test where they put men in a room with no stimulus, and then put an electric shock machine in the room. 70% of the men preferred to give themselves electric shocks rather than be alone with their thoughts. The shadow can't tolerate silence, truth, or any kind of discomfort. This gene key is in the codon ring of union, the part of our collective DNA that governs relationships. If this gene key didn't exist, we would see relationships without reasons, without expectations, and without blame. We would have a very different planet. This is going to happen eventually, and this fourth city will play a big part in its manifestation. All shadows have their games. This gene key may drive us all mad, but it also drives us to question the world, and as we do so, we discover all manner of things. We've gone to the moon, split the atom, manipulated DNA, and all this is an ongoing game. When this fourth shadow does mutate, it will bring an end to science as we know it. The yearning that drives it will end. The desperation to have reasonable answers will end, and then a new kind of science can begin. We'll no longer question in the ways we have for the last 500 years. We'll simply see the world as it is. Because our awareness will have developed to handle that, we'll be comfortable in the world. We won't stop thinking, but we'll stop asking. The questions will simply not be there anymore. It's almost unthinkable. We might like to contemplate this, especially in our relationships, that there are no reasons. If we try it, we are sure to get a glimpse of our collective future. The fourth gift, understanding. It's here in the fourth gift that the world as we know it is gradually, slowly beginning to change. The gifts are about genius, the genius that cracks us open from the inside rather than something we learn from the outside. This is a light crackling through from within our cellular structure. When I contemplate the depths of this gene key and where it's going, I feel how deeply it's going to one day change our world. All this mental, intellectual energy that we're using across our planet never quite resolves the big questions. We've discovered so much. Our physicists have created so many grand theories, but there's still that big piece that eludes us. It's because we are standing in our own way. It's not our time yet. We don't understand how the universe works at a fundamental level. We don't understand because we're still looking for reasons. We're looking for knowledge, and that isn't enough. One day, however, we will realize beyond a doubt that the universe is eternal and that time has no beginning and no end. When we realize that, it will literally short-circuit our thinking. We will finally come into understanding. It will flood our bodies as light. Everything is light. Consciousness is everywhere, in all things, breaking forth like a wave. This kind of understanding opens our hearts. The answer we seek is staring us right in the face. It's the simplest one. It kills the question. It stops the mind. Life is sacred, and free energy can be harnessed from anywhere. That will be the end of intolerance. It's all about energy and food, and they're both free when we reach understanding. The world will then take a completely different direction. If we have this fourth gift in our profile or are drawn to activating it in our DNA, then we have to look no further than our relationships. We're never going to understand anything until we understand love. Most people won't believe what I'm saying. We've evolved to be a predominantly thinking race. Our Western world has essentially grown out of the scientific view and left the magic behind in fairy tales, since there seems to be no empirical evidence for it. But understanding comes from the causal plane, the higher plane at the farthest reaches of our minds, where the heart and mind combine. When we truly open up our hearts, our mind sees so much further than when our hearts are closed. Our minds reach the holographic union of truth. We see, feel, and know the truth. We don't need to prove or question it. How can we question love? If we've ever been in love, do we really think our minds have any power to question that feeling? The truth is indisputable. Only if the love fades do the questions return. The Chinese call this hexagram youthful folly. It's an apt description of human beings during our current state of awareness premutation. We can barely tolerate each other. Whoever we are, no matter what gifts we're here to bring into the world, this fourth gene key is going to have a huge impact on our life. The gift of understanding occurs as we let go of our mind's many tricks of trying to understand and control our life and the daily decisions we make. Our mind can't give us the answers we're seeking. It can't tell us what to eat, where to live, whom to love, what to do, anything. It can only see and play with the polarities of mind itself. It can't judge. It can only measure. Only our spirit can understand life. Only our spirit can let another person live in our heart. We've all been fools, fools for love. We seek the answers outside when all along they are inside us. The light we seek is in our own body. It is locked away in the DNA. It's so simple to unlock it. Just input the right code. Just see through your own shadow. Watch our mind, laugh at its antics, as it stumbles and trips its youthful way through the world. When we have cellular understanding, only then does our mind rise up to see through the great questions and paradoxes, and only then does it stop taking sides. If we have this gene key prominently in our profile, we probably know all the answers to everything but can't stop needing to know more. One day our genius is going to emerge out of the mists, and guess what? We're going to stop needing to know and finally understand. Happiness never comes through answers. It comes only when we're so tired of answers that we just decide to live the questions fully. Our life radiates the answers, and finally we can relax and be of the deepest service to the world. The fourth city, forgiveness. It's a huge word, forgiveness. What is forgiveness? Who can understand its mystery? How is it connected to our mind? So much of this gene key seems to be about our mind, and forgiveness also seems to be in the emotional realm. But really, it's about understanding. Only when we understand fully can we forgive. Understanding is not on an intellectual level. This gift of understanding is of the full being, mind and heart together. Who is it we're forgiving? When we understand forgiveness, we usually think of forgiving a person or an injustice. We see it on a personal level. This fourth city is about a universal type of forgiveness, and personal forgiveness is but a tiny echo of that. The programming partner of the fourth gene key is the 49th gene key, which has the shadow of reaction, the gift of revolution, and the city of rebirth. When we put these two keys alongside each other, we have intolerance causing reaction at the shadow level, moving into revolution and understanding at the gift level, and culminating in rebirth through forgiveness at the citic level. Aren't the gene keys easy to understand? To really understand this fourth city of forgiveness, we'll have to dive into the esoteric field of the Corpus Christi, the science of the subtle bodies that underpins the gene keys. In the back of the Gene Keys book, you will find the glossary of personal empowerment. Within this glossary, you will find terminology that describes the way in which higher consciousness emerges into the world of form. At a certain place in our evolution, as our hearts begin to open more consistently to life, the subtle body known as the Buddhic body begins to dominate our inner consciousness. The fourth city is key in this. In the mystical teaching known as the opening of the 7 sacred seals, there are 7 specific gene keys and their cities that have special significance in global awakening. One of these 7 sacred seals is the fourth city of forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't personal. It's the realization that nothing is personal. The fourth city is such an alien concept to human beings at the moment. This is why it will take a rebirth. It involves the death of a whole part of our old mind, the part that needs and looks for answers and reasons. It will move us into a causal world, a world without blame or guilt. Forgiveness is the only antidote to guilt, and guilt is not always what it seems. It's an ancient force carried through the DNA that is passed on at conception. Guilt is one of the 6 core human wounds. We humans carry guilt because we feel responsible at a deep unconscious level. We carry the guilt of our ancestors, and that guilt is triggered inside us at various stages in our lives by the karmic events playing out around us. Guilt is a karmic debt that we all carry, and collectively it's held by whole gene pools that are literally at war with each other. We can see these debts played out on the stage of the world economy. Debt and guilt are tightly interwoven. Forgiveness, then, is a force that descends upon us. It comes when something inside us lets go of the drama that's controlling us. At one level, we might say that forgiveness is given, as its etymology suggests, but we also claim it. We forgive ourselves. We are forgiven by ourselves. It happens when it happens. We cannot do forgiveness. No technique can bring it about. It comes when we're so tired of the drama that we spontaneously surrender. We then see how deeply we've trapped ourselves in our belief structures, our resentments, our ambitions, and our broken dreams. The gift of understanding comes out of the process of utter self-responsibility. We realize that the resentments, disappointments, and hurts in our relationships ultimately stem from our own incomplete self-love. This leads to self-forgiveness. Only when we forgive ourselves fully can we begin to return all non-love with love. Remember, this key is in the codon ring of union, whose cosmic realm is the transformation of all human relationships. This city also has a very obvious archetypal resonance to the teachings and embodiment of Christ. Christ's teaching of peace on earth and goodwill to all contains the full transmission of this fourth city. We forgive each other our trespasses and debts. We return non-love with love. This is the power of the Buddhic body coming into incarnation. These cities contain some astounding stories, and the fourth city is going to bring an end to war. It's going to bring an end to war through the releasing of all ancestral karmic debt. One day it will bring about world peace. This mutation in the fourth gene key. It's going to change the way our brains operate. As we saw with the shadow, it's going to stop us asking questions. It's going to settle us down. It's going to propel us into a deep natural morality that at the same time is rooted in an amoral understanding of life. It may be far away in the future, but it's also here now and programmed in us. Assuming we're allowed to complete our natural evolution, we will one day live in the field of this cosmic forgiveness. Even though it may sound boring to our drama-addicted minds, the truth is it's actually going to feel really, really nice. And that's Gene Key 4 from the 64 Ways, Personal Contemplations on the Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. I am a huge proponent of the Gene Keys. I'm a huge proponent of human design. If this is a book that you would like to purchase, I know that you can purchase it on Amazon. He does have his books on there, Richard Rudd. He also has courses that you can take, and I highly suggest trying out one of those. I haven't yet myself, but I'm looking forward to trying one out. And hopefully you find this as informative and transformational as I do. This information has been so poignant in helping me change and become a better person. And I hope that it can help you understand yourself and understand your pathway and your journey in this life. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and or join as it is popping off on the other tiers. And I am looking forward to our next video or live stream. Be well, stay wild as well.